Hi, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you to week 6. Somehow we survived the first 5 weeks of this course and your first firm deadline. So although it may not seem this way to you, this week should actually be less work for most of you because it seems like the majority of the class submitted the majority of the programming assignments last week. So this week is probably going to feel like a little less work, but one thing I want to make clear is that firm deadlines are going to be followed from here on out for the rest of this semester. So this week you're going to learn about the third primitive data type called Boolean variables. Boolean variables are variables that can only have one of two states, true or false. So in our coding, we'll be able to create them. And we'll also be able to create something called Boolean conditions. And we will be able to create decision statements in our program so that if a condition evaluates to true, we'll do something. And if it doesn't evaluate to true, we'll either not do something or we'll do something else. So I'm just going to put together some simple code here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a Boolean variable false. So as you can see, we are allowed to make variables like that. And then we can also use them in decision statements like what follows. I can say things like if answer equals true, then maybe we can print something to say system out println answer is true. So let's go ahead and compile this and run it. And you'll notice that nothing happened because since our Boolean variable was false, this statement here evaluated to false, so we did not execute this code. Notice also that when we create conditions using primitive types, use double equals for equality. Now, of course, I should and want to test my program to see if what happens when answer is true. So I can go ahead and put that in. Recompile, and now this time when I run my program, I should get the statement will print. Condition's true, then we execute the code that comes after the if statement. It's always a really good idea to use the curly brackets after a condition statement like this, where we have a decision that we're trying to make so that it's very clear to the user which code goes with the if statement. In fact, with my face-to-face students, I don't even allow them to not put those in. So let's make up some other variables as well. Because in Java and in all coding, we can also use relational operators to make comparisons. So when I'm talking about relational operators, I'm talking about things like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to. Notice if we want to use greater than or equal to, we don't really have the symbol, the mathematics symbol with the greater in the line below. So that's how we test for greater than or equal, less than or equal. And then, of course, we talked about equals. And then there's one more. So there's when we use an exclamation point and the equal sign, we read that not equal. So we can test to see if things are not equal. So let's make a couple integers, x equals 5 and y equals 7. And now we can make some relational statements. We can make some statements using those relational operators. So this time we're going to say if x is greater than y, then we'll use a set of curly brackets, and I'll say something like x is bigger than y. Oh, oops. Now this time I want to print something if this condition evaluates to false. So to do that, I put the else in and another set of curly brackets. And this time if x isn't greater than, if x is not bigger than y, then so if this is false, then y is bigger than x. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So we can see with these values that I've selected that the if statement evaluates to false, so we do the else. Now let's make x bigger and let's test our program. This time it should print x is bigger than y, and it will. Now there's one situation that we really haven't checked into yet, and that is, well, what if they're the same? So let's make them both the same and see what happens. Now, the problem is this really isn't true. So that means what we want to do in our code is actually add a nested if else. So what that means is that I can come after the else and say if. This time I could say y bigger than x. And then I can say else. So if x isn't bigger than y and x isn't less than y, then they must be equal. So now we can string these together so that we cover all those bases and say x and y are equal. So really there's three situations here, and that's what I wanted to show you. So if I run this, x and y are equal, our program tests out okay. Now, we can use these relational operators to make comparisons for primitive types. We can't use them though for objects. If we want to compare objects such as string objects, we would use something called the dot equals method for strings. So let's make a couple strings and I can demo this with you. We'll say str1 equals hello, and we'll say str2 equals bye. And now we want to see if they're equal. So the way we do this is going to look different. So when we make comparisons using string objects, we're either going to use dot equals, or later on, we're going to learn about a command called compare to. But for right now, I'm just going to stick with the equals. And let's make another string, str3, and we're going to have that equal str1. Okay, so we've set up our 3 string variables, and in that last step, I created a third string variable to say string 3 is equal to string 1. So that means they're they're pointing to the same quantity. So now we want to go ahead and show you how we use the equals method. So I say something like this. I want to check if string 1 and string 2 are equal. So what I do is I take the I don't want to do that there. Inside the if, I say str1 dot equals, and then inside of the parentheses, I put str2. So I'm checking to see if string 1 equals string 2. And I'm going to go ahead and print the statement. str1 equals str2. I'm going to go ahead and compile. And I'm going to run. Well, nothing should print because they're not equal. Okay. So actually, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to delete this and I'm going to have it truly equal to another hello string. So now what I want to do is let's see if string 1 and string 3 are equal. So I can use the beauty of copy and paste here, paste it in. Now when I run this, we should get a statement. Oh, I got to change this statement. Say string 1 equals string 3. Okay, so now when we run our code, we do get a statement. So there is a big difference checking for equality depending if we're talking about a primitive data type, booleans, or ints or doubles versus objects. So hopefully that'll get you started. I'll send you this video, and best of luck. Make sure you get all your assignments in by Friday at 11:59 p.m.